Hello. It's been a little while since I have come on YouTube, and I'm really excited to do today's video. Hopefully, this will work. Um, so, over the past year, I just decided to take a little time off from social media. I haven't been posting, I obviously haven't been on my YouTube channel. I've really just wanted to spend a lot of my time, more of my time, uh, doing things for me as a person and not so much as a business owner. And I still have been coaching, so I'm excited to talk about today's topic with you guys and give you some insight that I've come across over the past couple of years, but especially this past year where I've really limited what I've been doing with my own personal time and the kind of clients that I've been coaching. So, first of all, I really just want to talk about wealth and love together because a lot of people don't realize that energetically they're very similar because they both sit on the frequency of abundance. This is like imagine having a tuning fork and you're tuning a piano. When you move the tuning fork, a certain string, only one string will resonate with that specific note that's produced by the tuning fork. And a lot of people can mistake results for something that isn't actually there. So let's dive into this. Your nervous system and your non-conscious belief system, they work hand in hand. And it will be really difficult. You will be fighting tooth and nail for the goals, for the life that you want, to have your desires fulfilled if you do not calibrate your nervous system and understand your non-conscious belief system. These are not the beliefs that you have in your head. These are not the things that you think about. These are not the things that you know you hold as values. These are things that are deeper than that. These are things that you likely will never think about if you don't intentionally seek them out. When you are in true alignment, the thoughts that you are consciously thinking about, the things that you are feeling in your body, and the actions that you are taking are all in alignment. When this is happening, this means that your nervous system is calibrated both to your current situation, your present circumstances, and that you are able to visualize in your mind, hold in your heart, in your non-conscious belief system, the goals that you want, and your plan will be successful. If these two things are not working together, you will take a lot of detours. It'll feel like you're stuck in a loop. You keep repeating the same life over and over, despite the fact that you have made outward changes, right? You're doing actions that are different than you may have done a year or two or whatever ago, and yet you're still not seeing the results that you want. In these situations, most of the time, what is happening is a person has an idea, they have a goal, they have a desire, they start to do the plan to get that desire. They have skipped the part where they feel into that desire. So they never calibrate their nervous system. Their nervous system never learns what it is like to hold more. And so when they start working towards the thing that they say they desire, their nervous system feels unsafe doing that. And so there's always going to be sabotages happening that don't allow you to ever have your goal. One of the things that I do want to point out is that we are all making choices all day, every day, and there's no right or wrong decisions that you're making for your life. It's all a learning journey. But it is important to recognize that suffering is a choice. If you are out of a situation, you are physically away from a certain situation, and yet your thoughts do not allow you to think about anything except that terrible thing that happened to you, you need to understand that you are choosing suffering. It's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's just understanding you're making that decision. This is a decision that you have made to continuously allow some experience to happen to you, maybe an unpleasant experience, live in your mind and therefore live in your body and therefore repeat itself on a daily basis. When we can get past the fact that suffering is a choice and take responsibility for the fact that I'm choosing this, I'm actively choosing to suffer, I'm making myself suffer, we can start making a different decision. Okay? So moving on to my topic on wealth and love, how do these things go together? Imagine that you have a house and the house has a front yard and a backyard. Let's say the front yard is wealth, although this could go either way. Let's say the front yard is beautiful. It's got a full yard. It has lots of growing things around the yard. It's a pleasant experience to be there. But in the backyard, it's the opposite. Nothing seems to grow. Everything is dead. We've kind of just used it as a dumping ground for things that we don't have a spot for, right? This is somebody's love journey in their life. Again, these things can be flipped. When somebody is successful monetarily, so when they are financially secure, they believe I set out a plan. I did the things according to my plan. So I went to the school that I needed to. I made the connections that I needed to. I did the things that I needed to do in order to get the skills that I needed, in order to get the job that I needed, in order to have the results that I wanted. I will now apply this same strategy to my love life. I will now do the things, extract the things from my plan, and I will get the same result. This person is not taking into account that the backyard has different soil. It gets a different amount of sun. There's different things going on that would make this a different terrain. And instead they keep doing the same things over and over because that's what they know to do. They're comfortable doing that. Their nervous system is calibrated to doing things and getting results. I want to also point out that just because somebody can earn money, just because there's financial abundance in this situation does not mean that they've actually embodied wealth. And the way that you can actually tell that is by how fruitful the rest of their life is, how expansive the rest of their life is. Because just because I understand the system, I've learned the system of how to make money, doesn't mean that I understand abundance, even if I have generational wealth stored up. Okay? You can tell by the way people view money, people view love, is how they view themselves. It all will come back down to a self-worth issue. It will all come back down to how worthy they feel to be in that situation, how worthy they feel to receive, to embody, to spend, to enjoy their love or their wealth. When you are calibrating your nervous system, and I'm going to give you something that you can do at the end of this video so that you can start to take the next step to do this, is to learn the difference between your intuition and your instinct. Okay, your instinct will keep you alive. It will make sure that you respond appropriately in situations of life or death. You have evolved over the course of time to ensure that you, as a member of this species, will survive. But your intuition will take you much further. And in the midst of people doing and setting their plans and setting out, the way that they want to go, they miss out on learning about themselves. They actually try to skip this step, as I mentioned earlier. They think a thought, they do the action, but they don't know how to let that thought go down into their body so that they can actually embody it and that they can be working in one accord. Again, your body will not allow you to have your goal if you do not calibrate your nervous system. And if you don't understand your non-conscious belief system, your value system will push the goal that you have set out for yourself further and further away from you because it feels that thing is not beneficial to you. And there can be many, many reasons for this. Perhaps you've seen other people who've had X, Y, and Z, whatever your end goal is, and you've seen it not work out well for them, right? So there's going to be something in the back of your non-conscious mind, because you're not thinking about these things, that's there, that is going to sabotage the ability for you to achieve your goal. This is why learning your intuition, learning your instinct, and the difference between the two is so important. Once you've decided on a path that you want to go, it's really important that you start developing trust in yourself and learn to control your thoughts. You have to be able to shut off your brain. Your thoughts will talk you out of alignment. Remember, alignment is your thoughts and your feelings and your actions being of one accord. When you have made up your mind and you have decided, I'm going to embody what it would be like to have X, Y, and Z, or to be X, Y, and Z, to experience X, Y, and Z, you can no longer entertain the thoughts of what happens if I don't get this, or maybe this thing really isn't for me, or one of my all-time favorites, God doesn't want me to have that. Just by thinking that thought, it should point out the underlying issue, which is that you believe God has lack. God could give you limitations, which is not true. If you don't have something, it's not because God doesn't give it to you. It's because you have decided there's a cap on what I'm willing to experience. And again, it's not good or bad. I'm just trying to highlight to you why you are having the same experience over and over and over, and how to start making a change if that's something that you desire to do. Abundance will stop feeling possible if you can't surrender to enjoy the small things that you have all around you that are abundant. So if you cannot go outside and enjoy the free sunshine, if you can't enjoy all the abundant earth that you put your feet on every day, this is the limiting factor to how much abundance elsewhere that you can have. So when you stop listening to abundant ideas, it keeps you in a loop of desiring more. You desire to have more, and yet it's like you can't ever build this bridge there. It's because before you got to that bridge, you had opportunities to understand abundance, to learn the system and the language of abundance, to learn what it feels like to hold abundance in your body, and you didn't take the opportunity, right? And so now, when you're trying to make this very large jump from where you are now to the things that you desire, and you keep doing, and never getting anywhere, it's because you missed the lesson before you got to that point. Okay? And you'll have good ideas. You'll have things that really spark your interest. You'll have things that really light your spirit up, and yet you won't be able to pursue them because your ability to steward in your body the feeling of abundance has not been done. You're not used to doing it. And so there will be one excuse after another as to why that business didn't take off, or why you never joined that networking group, or why you never pursued that connection or relationship, or whatever it is for you. And the longer you are out of alignment, again, your thinking, your feeling, and your actions all being of one accord, the longer you are out of that, then the further away you get from who you are called to be, and the more confusing it gets to get back onto any kind of track that's worth leading you anywhere that you desire to go. Love and money go together they're very similar. When somebody has the ability to earn a lot of money but doesn't understand how to steward abundance, you'll see it in their relationship, and vice versa. Let's say, I want to give you just one example. Somebody who I was working with a couple of years ago had found a partner, and they got married, and he had just come out of a divorce, and so had she. So they were both coming from similar backgrounds. Now, in the previous marriage, it was a different financial situation for both of them, but it left the man, he was coming out with basically nothing but a lot of debt. But in her mind, this was absolutely her partner. And so every other thing was overlooked. Here's the issue, is that if And it has nothing to do with the outcome. So whether these two people end up together or whether or not you have a lot of money, this is not, I'm talking about the process. The outcome is simply a result of that process. So if you start off the relationship by thinking, this is the only person for me, you've already shown there's a limitation there. Again, you're saying God doesn't have abundance. This is the absolute best that could be out there. This is the only one that's out there. That's already a very limiting factor. It's a limiting belief, and it will carry out through the decisions that are made in that union together. When you can say there are many different opportunities and options for me out there, and I know that it's up to me to decide which one feels like I want to experience, right? I feel like I want to experience this union, this partnership. That's very well and good. That's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. Pick the one that your heart calls to you the most on. But go in understanding that there is an abundance of other connections that I could take, that I could have if I desired. So already there, we know that there's going to be limitations. And so just because one person has money in the bank or one person has done the experience, when you're in a partnership, your limiting beliefs will carry through to other areas, and it can really impact finances. And I've worked with several couples over the past 2 years who love each other very much. They are happy to be in connection with each other, but they can't get their finances together. And money is simply the result of something. The wealth, the abundance is just a result of somebody's way of thinking, feeling, and acting. There's discord there. And so once we can figure out the discord, we unleash the flow, right? We imagine you have a hose that the water is turned on. It's never not flowing through the hose. But until you release the kink in the hose, the thing that's causing or stopping that flow, you're never going to get the desired outcome. You're never going to receive the abundance coming out the other end. The same is true, in the opposite way. If you're single, if you're feeling like I needed to get all of these other things in order before I could really dedicate my time to pursuing a relationship or a connection of some sort, you need to understand that you may have checked off all of the things that you needed to do. You had checked off your to-do list. You have gotten all the things that you desired. But that doesn't mean that you have actually embraced abundance. It doesn't mean that you have actually viewed yourself as the vessel of abundance, the vessel that abundance travels through, that you are worthy to receive, that you are worthy of the accomplishments or the things that you have achieved. This will travel into a checklist when you go into finding your person, finding your partner. Do they do this, and this? And it's not, again, a negative thing to have a list. I actually think that you should have that. But if you cannot hold that list for yourself, it's going to be very difficult to find somebody who is willing to meet all of those criteria for you when you have not gone and developed that for yourself. Imagine that you are saying to yourself, I want a glass of water, right? So I want abundance in whatever area of my life. But I don't have a cup. You need to construct the container first before you can go get the water. You need to have a solid foundation of where this water is going to go so that you can carry it with you, you can enjoy it, you can have the desire that you're after. Let's say you do the work, right? You do the inner work, you've embodied this, you understand how it works, you've calibrated your nervous system, so forth. But now comes time for your actions. Now comes time that when you say, this is what I'm going to do, or this is the standard that I set for myself, these are the things that I can or will not tolerate. You don't follow through on them. You allow people into your life who are energy vampires. You continuously relive. You let your thoughts dictate your present and your future. Your thoughts of the past dictate your thoughts from your thoughts in the present and and of the future. You are unable to set boundaries with those around you, so on and so forth. Every time this happens, you're poking a hole into your vessel. You're poking a hole into that water glass that you just spent so much time constructing, and before you know it, it's leaking everywhere. This is why some people will say, I was in a good relationship, but then, I started working too much and work ruined the relationship. It wasn't work that ruined the relationship. It was the choices that you were making about how you chose to hold and carry, steward and grow and expand the relationship, the thing that was in that container. And again, if you don't bring your non-conscious belief system to your conscious mind, you're going to repeat these systems over and over. You're going to repeat these cycles over and over. There is a saying that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, not in his brain. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Meaning the things that you are actually holding near and dear, the things that you actually believe are the things that are going to dictate the outcome of your life and the experience that you have on the way to the outcome of your life. So let me just check my notes. I had written down a few things. Oh, yeah. Okay. And I want to give you just one step that you can take to start really embodying abundance. Whatever that is for you, take your next step through surrender. By that I mean go outside without an agenda. Put your feet on the grass without an agenda. Experience what it's like to have millions of blades of grass underneath your feet and just appreciate the abundance there. Soak up the sunshine without fear of, if it's going to rain or if it's going to be sunny tomorrow or anything like that. If you cannot surrender, if you cannot feel what it's like to release in your body, it's going to be very difficult for you to, again, expand beyond the current circumstances that you have, regardless of what those are in your life, because you can't create more space without letting go of something first. You need to let go in order to expand. Try practicing that active surrender. One of the things that you can also do, one more thing that you can do as you practice this, is getting very clear about what it is that you want in your life and recognizing who you would need to be in order to have it. As you see yourself, feel that feeling in your body. Let that feeling sink into your body. And now, without thinking about whatever area that is, whether that's in, money or love or any kind of thing like that, just go make your coffee in the morning, embodying that feeling. Make your bed in the morning or get into your bed at night with that feeling. Do something that's completely opposite from the environment where of the desire that you want, so that you can practice embodying it as you're awake. This is how you will shift yourself back into alignment. Again, your thinking, your feeling, and your actions need to be in harmony in order for you to be in alignment. So when you can practice this, doing something that's non-threatening to yourself, you're in a safe environment, you're just getting your coffee, you're not interacting with anybody else, you can really start to practice what it's like to feel wealthy, to feel like you are taken care of, you are seen, you are a whole, you're having a whole experience in your relationship. You're embodying abundance in that moment, just as you're doing something simple. The more that you practice this, the more settings that you're able to practice this in, the more times that you're able to practice this being in a group with people, the more your nervous system is going to be calibrated, and the sooner you're going to be able to walk into your job or perform your businesses through this lens, or find this connection, this relationship that you desire, because you have calibrated your nervous system and you've also started to pull up your non-conscious beliefs and really deal with them. Again, you have to surrender something in order to expand. You have to be willing to let go of who you've been in the past to make room for who you are in the future. And then one final thing that I want to encourage you to think about as you move forward. Lots of times when you're coaching, and sometimes I will use this with my clients as well, I'll say, think about your highest self, the highest version that you were created to be. Think about that self. But actually, I like to help my clients envision their favorite selves. So as you're doing this, I want you to think about your favorite self. How would you like to show up? How would you like to feel? How would you like to interact? How would you like to handle conflict? How would you, your most favorite self, how do they go about life? And practice being that. Again, do it in simple settings. Do it in times where you're not going to be triggered, where the old self isn't going to find a very easy pathway to come back up through. So again, when you're by yourself, when you're making coffee, when you're getting into bed, before you get out of bed in the morning, when you have the capacity and the space to do this, start practicing embodying your favorite self in those moments before you progress and try out different environments. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great holiday weekend. And I will see you all after the holidays.